do have your PowerPoint listed for those who are online here, so if you just want to click next, or just say next, and Chelsea will be able to move that forward for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, my name is Brian Bannon. We just go to the next slide. Sort of a brief agenda. I would prefer that this be somewhat of a conversation so that we can figure out what you want to get out of this. But I have some basic things here outlined. We can go ahead to the next slide. My biography, my background a little bit. I graduated at MSEM program in August of last year, so I'm actually going to walk in May. So there's my background. I got a bachelor's degree in 1998 from Penn State, and I worked about 10 years in law enforcement in Northern Virginia, and then I worked in emergency management in Pennsylvania and Newcastle County, Delaware, before coming to my current position, a senior consultant at Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a consulting firm. And I work on a disaster preparedness planning and exercise team. And I'm currently working on my IAEM certified emergency manager credential. I actually just took my test, the exam, on Saturday. So if anybody's working on their CEM and needs any help or anything, let me know. We can go ahead to the next slide. So I actually just gave a virtual seminar on Friday about opportunities in the private sector. And we can definitely talk about that because I know people are looking for that, and that's usually something that people are usually interested in. And I have the virtual seminar. Hopefully it'll be posted soon on the virtual seminar series page, so you can look at some of those things. But if you have questions or anything like that, definitely let me know, or if you want a copy of it, I can shoot it over to you. The next thing is, how do you get opportunities? And you'll notice networking shows up there periodically. And I think a format like this is an excellent way to network. It's kind of a way to get together with your peers periodically and go over some things and kind of see what's going on, how you can relate once you graduate, how you can give back, and discuss things with people, kind of give them some context and help shape some of the things in the future. I kind of look at all of these things as an opportunity. Either you may be future clients, co-workers, or just part of my network, and hopefully I can be part of your network, and we can all mutually benefit from our relationships in emergency management. So you see, I basically have their networking expertise, professional and personal development experience, and differentiators, and we'll talk about some of these as we go through. And if we're going through and you have a question or something to add, please go ahead and add it in and let us all share the benefit of your perspective. So we can go ahead to the next slide. So if you sat in on the virtual seminar, this is something I'd like to use as a pretty easy to follow visual of how to get those opportunities and how to qualify yourself for those opportunities in emergency management, and basically building a pyramid approach. Using that education that you have as a baseline, using training and experience, and then connecting that with your network, and then finding those extra things that are above and beyond, something that differentiates you from someone else. Specialized experience, writing an article, getting your CEM, things like that that will put you apart when someone's going through that stack of resumes or the 100 applications that they get that day on Monster or Career Builder. Something that will really pull you out of that pile. Those differentiators, there's all kinds of different things you can do to differentiate yourself. And you want to start looking at a track in your career, something that's going to bring you some kind of notoriety, some kind of way of finding a way to connect all those things and paint a picture of who you are. So that's sort of just the basic pyramid thing. There's other ways to approach it. This is one of the ways that I approach it. We can go to the next slide. And I think the key to a lot of this is networking. That's why I had it so many times early on. But networking really helps you communicate who you are, what you can do, how you can do it. So there's some points there, and I just took like a screenshot from LinkedIn because that's a great tool. LinkedIn is an easy tool to communicate with people. It doesn't have the frills and drama of a Facebook type of thing. It's very professional. You can stay, professionally oriented here and brand yourself in your endeavors. So I definitely recommend, if you're interested, I'm open to LinkedIn, invitations from people that are from common schools and things like that. And basically what you want to do is control your branding, figure out ways to market yourself and use tools, and figure out ways to provide value back to the people you're networking with. So see if you can offer something. See if you could speak for them, write them an article, help them with something. See if there's ways that you can benefit them. And of course, you can benefit from other things that other people are doing. Knowledge is power, and gaining a network creates your ability to bring in that knowledge. Like, it's a force multiplier for you. Whenever possible, seek out an opportunity to provide or receive mentorship. In my fairly short time at Booz Allen, I've been able to really learn the value of mentorship that I may not have really understood previously. I actually have 2 CEMs that are mentoring me right now in the CEM process, helping me through the reading over my materials, helping me stay on track. I'm also in a CEM study circle with Booz Allen, and then we have a CEM commissioner who's actually leading that effort, offering mentorship. And then I'm actually mentoring 2 other people right now in other aspects on how to model core values of our company, how to progress in their careers, how to handle things, and just be a sounding board for them. And I find that sometimes I get more out of mentoring somebody than being mentored. So I think it's a two-way street. Definitely seek out those opportunities. You can build relationships and your network. And then the last one is, don't be afraid to ask your network for help or support. Be ready for what the answer is. It may not always be the best, but I think you definitely want to ask your network for help or support. For instance, I'm looking at a missing piece of my puzzle in my CEM, and what I was looking to do is fill out speaking engagements to help with some of the things. So I just kind of put some feelers out and said, where can I speak? How can I speak? And then actually Troy reached out to me, so it worked out great. So this opportunity helps me, it helps you. Hopefully, I hope you get some value out of this, and I hope we can have some discussions. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's go ahead to the next slide. So this slide 7, talks a little bit about your personal brand. Now, someone just chime in. Tell me what those things are and what they mean to you. So let's pick the upper left-hand corner as you look at it. What is that red circle thing?
That would be Target.
Excellent, right? So what's Target mean? What does it mean when you see that? What does it conjure in your mind?
Walmart.
What's that?
Better than Walmart.
Better than Walmart. That's almost their whole entire marketing campaign, isn't it? Isn't it? We're pretty cheap, but we're more upscale and we're better than Walmart. I mean, that is kind of exactly what they're pushing. And sometimes all you see is that little symbol and something goofy about one of the products, and right away you know it's Target, right? Because you see that. So they've created an impression, a feeling, who they are, what they do. When you go into a Target, it's usually pretty orderly, it's pretty clean and nice. Generally speaking, they're promoting themselves as a more upscale alternative to Walmart. So what about the swoosh down in the bottom left-hand corner? Everyone knows this, right? I mean, someone else. Nike, right? So what's Nike selling? Everything. You're right anymore, right? They've slapped that logo on everything in the world because they're creating an impression that it's a lifestyle. It's a healthy, fit, active lifestyle. and by somehow, or a specific sport or a sports hero, it's a whole gamut of things that Nike means. But you're right, they've slapped that logo on practically everything in the world, from obviously shoes to hats and coats and jackets and shirts and pants and wristwatches and all kinds of things. So what about the upper right-hand corner there, the three-pointed star?
I wish I could drive that car.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's kind of, that's right. The kind of impression, right? So you see that there's a status associated with that. There's a certain level of luxury associated with that. When you see that Mercedes-Benz symbol, everybody immediately identifies with that, and they're marketing that. So if you've ever seen some of the commercials, you might see a car drive down the road. They never say the word Mercedes in it, and then they show the Mercedes symbol at the end, and they usually talk about, some kind of superior ability or something like that. Superior safety or speed or something, like that. Bottom right hand is probably one of the most recognizable and coveted marketing and logos in the world right now. And everybody knows Apple, and Apple stands for innovation, ease of use, kind of almost, it's kind of losing a little bit of its counterculture shine, but it still has that counterculture, anti-Windows kind of, different alternative view. So it's not just a slogan or a logo, though. Really what you're trying to do is create some kind of impression or a feeling. Now these companies have mastered this by making it so that they could just show you a symbol. They never even have to show you anything. Honestly, they could do a 10-second commercial and just pop that Target symbol up there, and everybody in the world would know what it is, no matter what language, anything else. So we're never going to be able to brand at this level, but think about trying to create that picture, try to brand and try to talk about who you are, what you can do, how you can do it, and how you can be different from someone else. I think that's the value of the Apple one there, is really, remember they had the Think Different campaign and things like that. So we can go to the next slide. Alright, now look, some of these, I don't know if they give you warm and fuzzies, but and one of them has the company name in it, but you think about the upper left-hand corner, do we know what that one is? It's sort of like the hallmark for the Postal Service, right? So, what do you think of when you think of the Postal Service? Does anybody think warm and cheery thoughts like... I'm sorry?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're in the news for a lot of problems, trying to do layoffs. They're losing money because of the pension plan that Congress made them put money into. Rates keep going up. They're closing down facilities, may get rid of Saturday delivery. Not a lot of good things.
Right, and anybody you remember Seinfeld? Sort of the lazy, devious, scheming Newman was kind of like an embodiment of the Postal Service. There's a perfect example of kind of branding. Obviously, the Postal Service is trying to have a positive image, but they're a mess and they have a problem. And I honestly, even if they did turn it around, I don't know if they could ever continue using the name and logos or anything. They're kind of stained. The BP logo there, it's obvious because it says BP on it, but it's all green and shiny and it looks like they're environmentally friendly and everything if you didn't know anything else, if you're from another planet maybe and saw that. But I mean, what conjures up in your mind with BP?
Oil spill.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't even think you could separate BP and oil spill in probably 1,000 languages on Earth, if there's even that many. Everybody in the world knows that BP spills oil and does bad stuff. And they're trying to turn that image around, and they're trying to get away from it. And actually, they've been pretty brave by not scrapping the whole company and scrapping their logos and everything else. Kind of surprised. The bottom one is sort of a love and hate relationship that everyone knows, and Facebook is had lots of issues because they've had privacy issues. They keep messing with the format. As soon as you like it, they go and change it. They add functionality you never asked for. They mess with your stuff all the time. So everybody kind of has a love-hate with Facebook. They're an innovator in one degree, but to another they are kind of a thorn in people's side. So I think one of the things you have to be careful in your online interactions and other interactions is not to cultivate a negative brand or to associate with a negative brand. And you got to try to figure out ways to avoid that. And I think the easiest way is from the previous slide. You constantly market yourself in a positive light. Avoid, things that can pull you down in your work life, in your work world, and the way you're advertising and marketing yourself. So let's go ahead to the next one. So here's the so what. And the so what of this is really, you can't create your network and your personal brand from scratch. You can't just decide to do it one day. You're better off when you do decide it, but you need to leverage what you're doing all the time, your interactions. So, as I said before, I kind of consider you all, potential co-workers, clients, associates, things like that in the future. And when we interact like that, we need to figure out ways to show that we're helping, demonstrating our value. So we do it now, and we do it always. You kind of apply the so what test. Why does it matter, and to whom? So not that everything in your marketing has to matter to everyone, but it should matter to someone, somewhere, for some reason. And if it doesn't, we should probably get rid of it. We really want to tie our personal brand to things that matter to people and demonstrate that value. So helping people. We kind of have a leg up in that in emergency management because it's inherently something that's valued. Emergency management is something that's valued, and it's on the upswing now. And it has been for the last 12 years. So we can kind of ride that wave to a degree, but we need to show that we can demonstrate that value. And of course you want to integrate your experiences and your differentiators, those special things you do, into your personal brand. So working on a CEM right now, it's kind of put me on a track to kind of figure out how to get some of the experiences I've had, how to differentiate myself, how to talk about some of the things I've done in a more open light. And anybody who's come from emergency services know that people in emergency services tend to be the last to sort of toot their horn. But when I started looking at some of the things I'd done and started to have to write these things down and document them, I was able to meet the standards that they're talking about. So one of the things you have to do for your certified emergency manager is demonstrate that you've had a significant role in an actual disaster or a full-scale exercise. What I figured out is when I laid this stuff out is which one. I've had a couple, I've had quite a few real-life disasters where I've had significant roles. I've had quite a few full-scale exercises where I've had significant roles. And I decided to pick the snowstorms, the Snowmageddon storms, when I was in Newcastle County, where I served as the EOC director and basically helped facilitate the county's response for about 7 days in a snow emergency. And basically we were able to keep the lifelines moving in Newcastle County, even though we were under 5 foot of snow. So that's the one I decided to use because it was different. It was something different than most people would have. It was something interesting. It's something that I got elevated very quickly because I was there and I had the experience and the capability. So I was able to put a differentiator and experience and put that together with my brand of basically someone who's been able to do some things on the street, someone who's been able to do some things in an emergency operations center. Now I'm in a consulting role helping my clients do those things. So it kind of all fits together and creates that picture. So I think that's kind of the important thing here is to figure out how to do that. Next slide, please. So here's all those things. Certifications and credentials, volunteerisms, extraordinary experiences, a major disaster, a major role, something you've been able to do, a position of trust, published articles. Last month in the International Association of Emergency Managers, I was able to get an article published, an article I actually wrote a while back, but it's finally been published, about mitigation. And if anybody knows much about mitigation, it's in a very strange place in the federal government hierarchy. It's sort of a standalone phase of emergency management that hasn't been all that well integrated with the other ones. And there's a whole separate culture, I guess it would be, of mitigation. And basically, I kind of put a little call out to change the nature of the phases of emergency management, to integrate mitigation across preparedness, response, and recovery, and make mitigation a cross-phase centerpiece of that. So that was in the IAEM bulletin last month. Got published. It kind of fits in with one of the things I'm trying to do is think about solving problems across all 4 phases of emergency management in sort of a more integrated fashion. So thinking about ways to use exercises across mitigation, response, recovery, preparedness, thinking about ways to do a little bit different things to find that value, to connect the dots, to coordinate those planning efforts that are going on kind of separately in stovepipes right now, trying to figure out how to bring those things together. And I think the way we do it is we talk about it, and we talk about it with smart people, and we bring the ideas up and see if there's not something we can do. Speaking opportunities, if you get an opportunity to speak, do it. Please share the information you have. Let people know what's going on. Awards are useful. They show that you're doing things and you've been recognized. Use your network to identify opportunities to differentiate yourself and then seize upon those opportunities. I think that's the biggest thing. Seize upon those opportunities when you get them. So that's kind of been a relatively recent thing I've really been able to do. I kind of shied away from a lot of those things in the past because I didn't have a real clear goal or a real clear plan of where I was going. And instead now I've sort of come up with a plan, and I think using the CEM is a great way to do it. I'm going to hammer that to death, and hopefully we'll find a more formal way maybe to get people down that path or to track it. From what I understand, I think the university or the MSEM program is trying to coordinate some kind of track or path or process. There's a great organization out there, Empower, which don't quote me exactly what it stands for, but it's a women's organization for emergency management. But Empower has a model to go after a CEM, and that's what we adapted in Booz Allen to actually use our CEM study circle program. So you basically have a schedule, you have milestones, you have things that you need to get done at different times. And that really helps you kind of keep a picture of what you're trying to do, to create that brand and figure out how to accomplish that certification, which is a key differentiator. And also, you brand yourself along the way. So that's a great program. If anybody has any questions about that, I can forward some information. But Empower's been a pretty good ally in helping us figure out how to do this. So they're a real good sort of means to get down the road, and they're also doing some good things with mentoring women in the emergency management field so that we can remove some of the glass ceilings and get some equality in the upper ranks of emergency management. Is there any questions? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So basically, just to wrap up, I think the main thing we talk about here, and if anybody wants to know about anything else or any of the other things we talked about in the virtual seminar series, is really want to figure out what to do after your MSEM, and think about that as building your education piece, hopefully some experiences, hopefully you've gone after some of the training opportunities that have come up, and maybe even some of the differentiators. And then, of course, you're constantly networking. So building that pyramid from the opportunities you have, using this MSEM as a good launching pad, a good basis for that pyramid, to really be able to build that brand, to build that capability. And then I think sort of the capstone of all that stuff is going to be use that network to demonstrate those differentiators. So if you're looking for something, call up somebody, send them an email, ask them about opportunities. Don't be shy about using your network. People who have graduated or who are, stable in their careers want to help other people, and they don't always necessarily know how. So sometimes a mentoring situation is usually started by the person who needs the mentoring. A lot of times people don't run around going, hey, I can be your mentor. Most often it's people who say, I need something, and someone says, okay, I can help you with that. I've been there. I graduated. I'm an MSEM. I'm going through the CEM program right now, so I can help you. So it's that kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions or need anything? Any comments or anything? And if you just go to the next slide, the last slide, it's just my contact information. So in your sort of networking, feel free to add me into your network if you want to ask me any questions, or if you're looking for opportunities and you're interested in consulting, you can definitely look at our company, Booz Allen Hamilton. We often have opportunities available. The center of our world tends to be in Washington, D.C., since we are a government consulting firm primarily, but we do have opportunities, throughout the country.
Brian, I just have a question as far as, you have in from your virtual seminar series that EMA positions are expected to grow, and I'm guessing that's more private sector than public sector, because public sector is running out of funding. Do you see then that the firms like yours will do more of the public sector planning than you do now, working down at like the county level? And also, what are kind of the top characteristics of a prospect for Booz Allen Hamilton?
Okay, so the first part, I think we're definitely seeing federal government is is facing a dilemma now. It needs to shrink to some degree, and some of the programs are going to have to shrink. Emergency management is not the immediate place they're going to shrink and cut from, but there will be cuts. So what we offer, a consulting firm offers, is a way to accomplish all the things that Congress demands but doesn't fund necessarily. So what they can do is bring us in on a contract basis. So we can support through consulting, planning, preparedness. We do all kinds of things. And if you look at that virtual seminar, there's actually details about our FEMA contracts that we have and things like that talk about some of the things. And basically these are opportunities for a firm like us because we can actually do it cheaper, faster, and then there's no overhead costs when we're done. We develop the product and then we go about our lives and we search for other business. So unlike sometimes the government, if you have a program, it's hard to get rid of it once you start it. Even though you don't need it anymore, it's very difficult to remove those costs. So we do offer that opportunity to kind of streamline things, get projects accomplished, support that type of planning. Our firm doesn't normally engage state or local governments in planning just because we're so intertwined with our federal clients that there could be conflicts of interest. So generally speaking, our firm doesn't do that, but other firms do, and they can do the same types of things. So when I was in Newcastle County, I engaged consulting firms to help us with our hazard vulnerability analysis, our hazard mitigation grants programs. We did it for all kinds of things like surveys and things like that. So we use consulting firms fairly frequently to accomplish fairly short-term projects that there's no way I could ever handle because I was already wearing 100 hats. And there were things that our county council wanted us to do or find out about and, complete those things, but we could have never done them without outside support. So I think there is tremendous opportunity there, and I think you are going to see a shift in emergency management towards local, or not local, but I mean private sector, capability. So they may be consulting basis for the government, and I think you may also see a model where some of the responsibilities are less regulatory in nature and they get pushed off onto private companies or private industries or critical infrastructure partners. So you may see some of those things. So instead of an organization doing them in the government, they may push that responsibility off on a regulatory basis to whatever the critical infrastructure partner is or whoever's regulated. So you may see some of that. I think the second part of the question, generally what we're looking for in Booz Allen is we're looking for somebody who's sort of building that pyramid, and we hire people from all different levels. So at our start-off consultant level, we're looking for somebody who's college educated, who has some background, maybe a master's degree, but doesn't have a lot of experience necessarily. But they are educated and trained pretty well to be able to sort of synthesize information. They're someone who's motivated and willing to work hard and is looking at having an entry-level opportunity. Our firm pays pretty well. We have great benefits. And really, I think what we're looking for at that rate is someone who is really looking to get their foot in the door, willing to do what needs to be done to move up the ladder and move up and do some things. One of our MSEM graduates, Pamela Drake, works with me. She actually shares an office with me, and she's hired on as a consultant at Booz Allen. And basically, Pamela's been able to get in. She's helping design exercises and develop materials, research, things like that. And generally speaking, at the entry-level consultant level, you're developing things, researching things, putting your expertise in, and offering some consulting services, generally not directly to a client, generally to some kind of task lead or something like that. If you have a little more experience, you can come in as a senior consultant where I'm at. And on my team, senior consultants, I'm actually in Newark, New Jersey right now, so you get to go to those fancy, exotic places. But I am an exercise team lead, so I actually run exercises for government clients, and that's everything from budgeting and personnel selection, things like that. And I do client interaction, so I interact with the client and develop a strategy to meet what they need. And this happens to be an exercise program that I'm working on right now. We do everything from technical assistance to workshops, exercises, things like that for our clients. And those are probably the two most realistic levels to come into a Booz Allen. Every team's a little bit different based on their mission. So some other teams have some more analytical, more research-based types of emergency management type work. Other ones have client-based, where you actually work at a client office like a FEMA, or we have emergency management type work with a bunch of different organizations. FEMA obviously is the biggest because it's the Federal Emergency Management Agency, but we have that type of work with Department of Education and some other departments that, there's opportunities there, and you're solving problems, helping with planning and those things. So it depends a little bit. So you want to kind of look for a track or figure out where your expertise can help out. So my expertise tends to lean towards law enforcement related things. So I end up doing a lot of work with law enforcement and emergency management. Not all exercises are emergency management necessarily, but the ones I tend to do often are, and that's because of my background to some degree. At the same time, we don't really pigeonhole people. We try to build and develop some capabilities that are useful across the board, and also sometimes we want to be able to give our clients a fresh take on their problems. So we want to provide somebody who's not kind of group thinking those things, who has a fresh perspective and can look at those. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but hopefully I kind of touched on what you're looking for there.
Yes, anybody have anything else for Brian? right, Brian. Looks like we got a quiet crowd tonight. So appreciate taking the time out of your schedule to meet with us. And we're going to go ahead with the rest of our meeting, and you can just disconnect and have fun in New Jersey.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone.